In the history of football in Cameroon, when we go through the records, you find out that only one outstanding and distinct player has been embraced by the head of state after a match. This player embraced by the head of state after a final match was His Royal Highness Mosenge Humphrey. And that was in 1972 in Boya at the end of an agric show which brought the nation together. Humphrey Mosenge would tell this story. His experience with the head of state at the time, His Excellency Amadou Ahidjo, the embrace, and much more.
It was an agric show, I think. And it was very damp weather. We had a Southwest selection, played against the Littoral selection, to crown the agric show, and the president, Ahidjo, was there. After the match, we had beaten the Littoral selection by 1-0. After the match, since I was captain of the Southwest team, I heard a signal from the grandstand and I was trying to line up my team. And the president's man said, no, I should come. He was signaling me. So for a while I was confused, trying to line up the team and looking at him. Then they signaled me and everybody said, no, you go. So as I was going, the president came out, greeted me, embraced me, and walked off. Well, to me it was like a dream. I didn't know of it, but I didn't know what happened. So everybody started asking, what did the president tell you? I said, nothing. The man just greeted me and walked off. Nobody believed me.
How and when you were recruited into Prison Social Club of Boya?
Actually, I don't know whether you can call it recruitment, but I just from Kasbambili, and my only desire was to come back to Boya because I left a sick grandmother. You know, while in Bambili, I was playing with PWD Bamenda and the junior international club, national team. So when I got to Boya, after mourning my grandmother, I decided to be moving up to the stadium where prisons practiced. And some of the players recognized me and just put me in practice selections. After a while, at Tangana, the national goalkeeper at the time and coach of prison started developing an interest in me and told me that he would like me to join the team, but I will not play for a long time in the team. He would like me to be practicing with the team, and eventually they will see how I can fit into the team, because the team had very strong, old, reliable members. But during the first camping, because we had to play Union in a friendly game in Limbe, I remember prisons had to play Union. I was not in prisons at that time, even though I say we. Ewonkem did not come for the camping. And I was called in camp. I was early in camp. I was present. And the only reason I was given a chance to play the match was because Ewonkem did not come. And I wanted to punish Ewonkem. So he said, you asked that I play 45 minutes, the first 45 minutes. And when I got in, they couldn't get me out until maybe the 85th minute. I walked out myself. I was tired. But that gave me a place in the club. That's how I got into the club, because that's when they sent my papers to Yaoundé to register me in the team.
Can you remember the first match you played in Division 1 when you were registered?
That's probably the most memorable match in my career, because that match was against Chebo and Eglin Kongsamba. It was the second match in the 1970 season. I was I was put in the field, and I was glad to start as a starting player in the midfield, and my direct opponent was Chebo, who had just come from Khartoum. He was the man of Khartoum, as you know. He was playing in the national team. Very popular name at the time. And as huge as he was, every time, when he first approached me, I saw, the next time I saw him, he was about 10 meters behind me. He had gone. And I started wondering why I had to take this kind of shame. My idea was to put my head down and pretend one way or the other until they can pull me out of the field, because I didn't see how I could play against a giant like Chebo, who was so fast too. But then that became the trick, because when I started looking down, I realized the movement of his legs and the way he dribbled, and he couldn't pass anymore. I started stopping the ball and passing it over immediately before he came back, until I developed courage and started dribbling him and then passing the ball. No, and when it wasn't easy starting. That first game was most memorable to me.
And after that, you must have been hailed by the crowd and your teammates.
Oh, I think Kongsamba beat us 2-1, but Congo Edima was due of Kongsamba at the time. I was raised, carried up by Kongsamba, and they were matching me to Lycée Manenguba. And that's where I was going to teach and play with Eglin Kongsamba. And they would pay me 100,000 francs a month, even as an English teacher. So that was the first experience, and of course I refused and came back to prisons, where I was getting about 10,000 francs every month.
By the time you played for prisons, Mr. Musenge, what were the conditions, the signing on fees, the fees for training sessions, and particularly match bonuses, matches won, matches drawn, and matches lost?
You asked me to talk about fees signing. Really, there was nothing like that. I told you I started playing. It was like for the love of the game that we played, not because we had any signing fees or training fees. Match bonuses, yes, there was something like match bonuses. If I remember right, when we lost the match, there was nothing. When we won the match, they gave us 1,000 francs. When we drew a match, they gave us 500 francs.
And after some of those victories and drawn matches, the independence bar was a sport interested for prison players.
Exactly, speakers of few elements. Of course, the independence bar, when I go back, those were the sports where we were drinking ourselves with alcohol. And that's to benefit the invite us there and buy us as much beer as possible as we could possibly drink. And most often that would be the only drinking time for the week. We didn't have that much because from the next Monday we start training again, preparing for the next match.
As footballers, during the 8 days of prisons, were you popular as footballers with the women folk?
Footballers are always popular, you know. And that's why my grandmother I talked of earlier was very angry when she knew that I had started playing football. I was playing with Peter Lipamenda, went to Victoria, now Limbe, and decided to come see her in Boya. She didn't understand how I'd come down to Boya from Bamenda. So I said, we came to play football in Victoria, so I came up to see you. And she started crying. And that's the last I saw of my grandmother. She started crying, saying the son had become a Gary boy. They sent him to school to go learn. Now he's playing football and coming all the way from Bamenda, which was so far, to Victoria, only to play football.
While you were a player of prisons, were you called up at any time to the national camp?
I don't think I was called up to the national. I played with the junior national team. I never went into the senior national team, even though most of the people who went to the senior national team had played with me in the junior national team. I don't remember any time, except probably when I was leaving the country, I was informed they were calling my name into the national team, but then my mind was fixed on moving on other things already.